Good morning, my Proverbs Life family. I am just coming to you this morning from my front porch. And I hope that you guys can hear me because I've never done a video outside before. But today I feel very compelled to come on and kind of tell you guys what happened to me yesterday. Um, this is going to be a very real and transparent post. Um, So, a lot of people believe that I post all of my business on social media because we've been so transparent with Jason's brain cancer. Um, but there's a lot of things that you guys that I don't share with you guys, only because I think some things are made to be fought in private. So, with that being said, for the past, well, since Jason passed away, for the past year and a half, I've been really struggling, not just with grief, but I have an autoimmune disease called Hashimoto's. And unfortunately, I've had it for over 20 years, and it has started to really take a toll on my body. And so I put on a happy, brave face and go about my day and just find the strength to walk in what God's given me for the day. But there are some times where I've really struggled. So Hashimoto's is a autoimmune disease that affects your thyroid. So I've just learned like 90% of people that have hypothyroidism actually also have Hashimoto's. What ends up happening is the autoimmune disease attacks your thyroid. So lots of people experience thyroid things differently. For me, it has been my hair falls out. I'm exhausted all the time. I sometimes will experience weight gain. But the biggest side effect is like brain fog for me, which I was attributing to grief, but I have since found out is probably more the Hashimoto's with grief mixed in there. But with all that being said, I've been struggling. So finally, my doctor, a couple weeks back, decided that she was going to send me to have a scan for my thyroid done. She believed that maybe there was something else going on that we had missed. And so, with anybody that's been through medical trauma or has dealt with cancer and had to walk through scan anxiety, it's a real thing, and it causes my medical PTSD to kind of go into overdrive. And so it takes a lot of taking my thoughts captive and really continuing to surrender my thoughts and my feelings to God, and to not be fearful, to not live in fear, but to trust. And so we can say all those big things and we could claim that. But when you've walked through as many cancer journeys as I've walked with people that I love, it can be really hard. And I think the biggest thing for me has been my kids have been through so much and continue to walk through someone that they love very deeply, which I'm not at liberty to share, is walking through a cancer journey that is been very difficult and will probably end up taking his life. But my kids have been through so much. And when I think about sending me for a scan for my thyroid and the fact that my doctor may think I have thyroid, a tumor, or something going on because we can't get my thyroid levels regulated, it will send you down a really dark road very quickly unless you take your thoughts captive, which is what the Bible says. So, with all that being said, I went for my scan this week, and not very many people knew. And I just continued to pray about it and believe that God would take care of me. And so, with that being said, I've been through so much medically, as y'all know, with Jason and the brain cancer, that I had to keep reminding myself after the scan that it was a ultrasound and not an MRI, because as it was happening and she was pressing on my thyroid, it hurt really, really bad, and it scared me. And when I looked over after it was over and I saw white matter, immediately I thought MRI and not ultrasound, and I just knew that there was something wrong. And so on the way home from the doctor's, or from the ultrasound, I literally was getting ready to drive by my very most favorite park. I go there and walk all the time, and I was like, do I go home and sit and just be in my own feelings, or do I go to the park and just let God pour into me in nature? Well, I made the decision to go to the park at the very last second, in flip-flops no less, on a walking trail, but it didn't matter. And I pulled in the parking lot, I got out, and I started walking, and I started talking to God, and I started telling him that no matter what happened with me, that all I cared about was that he protect my children from any more pain and suffering. And so as I was walking, I got to a trail that I've never walked before, and I had decided that yesterday was the day I was going to do that. So I walked, I got on this trail, and I got to a point in the trail, y'all, and this is where I really want to share with you, like, what God did for me yesterday, or excuse me, the day before. It was on Wednesday, and I got to a point in the trail, and I couldn't go straight. I had to go right, or I had to go left. I had to make a choice. Do I go right, or do I go left? I have a choice. I had a choice in that moment, y'all, to trust God or to not trust God. It was that simple. But I had a choice. Just like I had a choice as I'm standing on that path. I can go right or I can go left. And in that moment, y'all, I chose to go left. So I'm walking, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I hear walking, fast walking, this older lady with her little white dog. And she stops and she looks at me and she says, "Are you left-handed?" And inside, y'all, I was like, that was a random question. And I was like, "No, ma'am, I'm actually right-handed." And she's like, "Interesting." And she starts to walk away, and I'm like, "But wait a minute, why? Like, why did you ask me that question?" And she turned around, y'all, and she looked at me and she said, "I watched you stand there and make a choice between going right or left. And you really sat and thought about that before you made the choice to go left. And most people choose the path that they're dominant on, and that would be your left hand. So you made a choice to not go to the dominant side, or the side that you tend to walk towards, which is comfort, which is pleasing, which is all of those things. But instead, I chose a different path this time. In that moment, something fell off of me. And the rest of my walk, all I could think about was, as I walk those trails all the time, I always go to the right. For whatever reason, that's my comfort. I go right. But in that moment, I had a choice. I could go right, which was comfortable, or I could go left. And y'all, I chose left. And so I left that park with wisdom that only God could give me in that moment in nature. Just him and I, and my emotions and my feelings. And I left there continuing to renew my mind of, I can go right or I can go left, but I have a choice. So I just felt like I had to share that with you guys today. Um, Outside of all of the other stuff, we always have a choice, y'all, in our thoughts, our minds, our actions. We can go right or we can go left, but we make a choice when we choose to worry or when we choose not to worry, when we choose to go with what's comfortable versus what's not comfortable. So I just hope that with what God has shown me this week, that maybe it will encourage y'all as well. Don't always go right. Sometimes just go left, because it's uncomfortable and God does his best work in the uncomfortable. So just wanted to tell y'all what God had done for me this week, and I hope it encourages someone. And I look forward to seeing y'all soon. Love y'all.